So today we are going to be talking about anxiety habits, the behaviors, the actions that we exhibit whenever we feel anxious and whenever we're having negative thoughts and we're having anxiety symptoms or anxiety attacks or panic attacks. And some of these are very, very minute things, but I'm telling you guys, the smallest things add up. And what we're doing whenever we exhibit these habits, whenever we, show these behaviors, we are indirectly telling our subconscious to send us more symptoms, send me more negative thoughts, right? Send me more anxiety, send me more hell, basically. But what we're doing with these habits is we're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to avoid the anxiety, or you're trying to resist the anxiety, and that is actually the opposite of what we need to be doing. We need to stop trying to protect ourselves. We need to stop running. We need to stop avoiding. We need to stop resisting, basically. We want to show the subconscious that we're brave and that we're courageous, and we don't have to act out fight or flight. We don't have to act out the fear. We don't have to justify the fear. We can just be here, and we don't have to do those little things, guys, that add up and keep that anxiety flowing to you. Now, everybody is different. We all have our little things, right, that we picked up over time dealing with anxiety and panic. I'll give you some examples of my situation. We'll start kind of with the heart anxiety part of my journey that lasted about 2.5 years. I was afraid of having heart attacks. I was having multiple panic attacks a day that I thought were heart attacks. I had issues with acceptance. I was having trouble sleeping. It spread to every aspect of my life, driving, going to work, my social life, just everything. It messed with my relationships. It took away a lot of the things that I enjoyed doing. Well, I'll say that I kind of let it take away a lot of the things that I enjoyed doing. And I started to pick up little habits and little things that I didn't think were a big deal. Now, obviously, there's the glaring habits, right, that a lot of us know and I've talked about over and over, and I won't spend tons of time on it. But these are examples of those. Googling, you know what I mean, and checking your vitals. I've talked about that. Obviously, those are two habits you want to get away from. Googling is not going to be something that makes you feel good when you're having an anxiety attack and you type in those symptoms. I'll just say that, right? It's going to give you the worst things at the top. It became a horrible nightmare. I was trying to protect myself, just like I'm trying to protect myself by doing all these other habits that I'll mention. But Googling was a big part of my life. The faster that you can get away from that, guys, the more relief that you're going to get from this, and the more likely you're going to be able to beat it. Stop doing that. And as far as vitals, I'll touch on that really quickly. Blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen, your temperature, your blood sugar, all that stuff. Unless a doctor has advised you to do that, there's no need to do that, okay? There's two different spectrums. Well, there's three. You have somebody that gets triggered by the checking the vitals, and it just makes anxiety worse for them. And then you have somebody that gets triggered and sometimes they have comfort. And then you have somebody that checks it all the time because they feel comforted, and then they can settle down. It doesn't matter which category you fall into. You're still showing the subconscious that you need to check vitals to feel comfort or to feel safe, right? Or you're triggering yourself. It doesn't matter. You're still a prisoner to checking. You're living like a heart patient, or you're living like a person that has COPD with oxygen checking. You're living like a diabetic, and when you don't have diabetes, when you're checking your blood pressure, your blood sugar, excuse me, you're living like a heart patient with the vitals and the blood pressure and all that stuff. So we don't want the subconscious to think that, because then it's just going to keep on sending us signals and symptoms that justify the action that you're partaking. See, you're fueling it. So those are the two big ones, right, that I talk about a lot. But there's other things that I did. With my heart anxiety, I would rub the center of my chest. And guys, I know you could just move this to any part of the body that you're having symptoms at, right? Your stomach, your head. I would mess, with lymph nodes. I'm pushing and poking. If you have leg pain, it's natural to want to massage that out. But for me and for a lot of you, you are just redirecting, or not redirecting. You're just continuously directing energy, negative energy, fearful energy to that area. Me doing this was just sending a signal to my chest. I'm trying to comfort myself. I'm trying to feel better. Did it actually ever make me feel better? Not really, but I would just do that like somehow I was going to rub out a heart attack. But I would do it, guys. I'm telling you, probably for about 1.5 years, if I were to ever take my shirt off during the day, you'd see a red mark here. That's how bad it was. And guys, you don't realize how hard you're rubbing something or pushing on something you will bruise that area. It doesn't have to be a visible bruise, but you will lightly bruise that tissue, right? You'll cause some inflammation there. I did that in so many parts of my body, and then I'd freak out like, what's that? And I'd have to be, okay, I'm always rubbing in that area. Guys, with the lymph nodes, so we'll just kind of categorize this in a general of like pushing, poking, prodding, massaging, feeling. Pushing on lymph nodes and poking on these things up here, like I'm telling you guys, you will swell them suckers up. Lymph nodes are the easiest things to swell up. And then you're gonna freak out and think they're tumors or you have cancer or something like I did. I would poke and mess around like, what is that? How does that feel? You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't take much. And any ENT will tell you this, stop messing with them because they're gonna swell up. They take in fluid very easily. But I would do that a lot. And I'm telling you, any part of my body where I would feel tension or tightness or a little bit of pain, instantly I'm just going there and pressing around, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know why I did it other than maybe I'm trying to massage the pain out, or maybe I'm trying to just inspect and move it around or to see how severe the pain would be. But I would always go back, and then not just doing it in the moment. Guys, a lot of you will go back and just check that area throughout the day. So some of you will actually move on from that symptom. You'll get a little bit of peace, and then you'll go back to messing around with it and you're just like, the subconscious, like, okay, more signals, the brain, the body, and everything's like, okay, we'll start hurting again. We'll send more attention there. Obviously, you're concerned about it consciously. Maybe I should be more invested and concerned on a subconscious level. Here's more energy and tension in that area. You can direct tension and pain pretty much anywhere whenever you have anxiety. And you combine that with your hypersensitivity, guys, I'm telling you, it can happen. It seems unbelievable. As horrible as anxiety is, it's also amazing. It's crazy how it works. Some other examples of little habits and behaviors that can add up and justify that symptoms are needed. I had horrible driving anxiety, so I would do things in the car whenever I would start to feel anxious. And first of all, my chest would start to tighten up, my heart rate would go up. So I can kind of just give you like 4 or 5 different things I would do instantly. I'd check my heart rate like I talked about earlier. So I'm driving, checking my heart rate, trying to time it. Should I be worried? Should I be worried? Something else that I would do, I would grip the steering wheel really hard whenever I was driving, like white knuckling it. I guess maybe I was just directing tension somewhere else. I don't know what I was doing. I was just stressed. So I would grip the steering wheel, just trying to get to where I was going. Something else I would do, guys, and I'm not proud to admit it, but I would go over the speed limit. Now, I wouldn't be recklessly crazy. I was like a 10 mile an hour over the speed limit kind of person whenever I was having anxiety in the car. I just wanted to get to where I was going. So I would speed a little bit. I would have water next to me and I would just chug water. I would have like 2 or 3 water bottles in the seat just ready to go. They would be ice cold. Do I feel like that can help ground you a little bit? Sure. But still, do I want to have to do that and chug water and cold water the whole way? I shouldn't have to do that, right? I'm still showing the subconscious that there is a problem. Another behavior that I would go through, guys, I would grab the phone and I would call my mom and I would talk to her. She was a nurse. So that's another habit that I would have whenever I was in the car. And also, I didn't have to just be in the car. That was a habit that I exhibited every other day whenever I was going through this. Bless her heart. Thanks, Mom, for being there for me and supporting me and, not getting angry with me. She helped me a lot of nights. But again, that was external reassurance. And I need to be able to tell myself and my subconscious that things are okay versus have to rely on my mom. So that's another habit that I think ultimately fueled my anxiety as well, ironically. Another behavior with that, I would pull over, go into a gas station, get water if I was out of water, but I would pull over, just pace around, or even if I didn't go into the store, I would just sit out in the parking lot and walk around. Sometimes I would get down and do push-ups or jumping jacks or something on the side of the road. I did that a few times. People would honk as they were driving by to try to convince myself that I was healthy. So that's quite a few right there just in the vehicle. But whenever I'm trying to speed back to where I'm going or speed home or speed to my destination, when I'm gripping the steering wheel, when I'm checking my heart rate, when I'm rubbing my chest in the car, whenever I'm chugging my water, whenever I'm talking to my mom, whenever I'm pulling over on the side of the road and having to go to exercise, whenever I'm having to pull over at a gas station and pace, what am I telling my subconscious? That there's a problem, right? And some of these guys, they seem harmless, like rubbing the chest or drinking some, chugging water, or even phoning a friend or talking to mom, gripping the steering wheel. You wouldn't think that that would just keep your anxiety going or intensify it, but it does. It shows fear. And there's nothing wrong with being afraid. And I'm trying to get you guys to understand this. I've been big on it lately. It is okay to be afraid. That's not really necessarily the problem. That'll get better over time as your confidence gets higher. But how do you build confidence? You show up, you're consistent with your exposure, you don't exhibit these behaviors, and you show bravery. That's ultimately what your subconscious wants right now. It just wants courage and bravery from you. So be brave today and stop doing these little behaviors. So I gave you a bunch of examples today. You know the things that you do. I was talking to somebody the other day. Obviously, I'm not going to mention her name, but they started to feel dizzy and faint a lot. So they were afraid that they had low blood sugar. So this person brings around a bunch of snacks with them, and now they feel like they have to snack every few hours to make sure that they don't feel like this. And I encourage that person to stop bringing the snacks. If you don't have a low blood sugar problem, if you don't have issues like diabetes or anything like that, and the doctor hasn't instructed you to do that, stop bringing the snacks with you everywhere. You're showing your subconscious that something might be wrong with us, and it's going to continue to send you symptoms. You're going to continue to feel lightheaded and faint. Show the subconscious you don't need that stuff. You're healthy. You don't need it. So I encourage all of you this evening, make a list, right? Make a list of all the little habits and behaviors that you exhibit whenever you feel anxious. You know, I named some today. There's countless of these, right? You know what you do in different situations. Really think about it. Today I mentioned Googling, checking all your different vitals, having to call somebody all the time. There's nothing wrong with it sometimes, especially in the beginning when you don't know what's going on, but having to always call somebody else instead of relying on yourself, that's one. I talked about gripping the steering wheel, speeding to get home, pushing, poking, massaging certain areas of your body, directing negative energy and fear to that area, or tension and pain to that area. I talked about even things like having to chug water or like bring snacks, right? Some of you are carrying all your vital checkers with you to work, you're right, or in the vehicle, like you have to have it with you. It's another one that's kind of a twist on the vitals, like you're bringing these things with you everywhere you go as if they're going to save your life. I talked about pulling over on the side of the road. Something else I didn't mention, like getting up really quickly and having to pace around whenever you feel anxious, right? It feels natural to do that, right? You're trying to save yourself, survive. You're trying to be on the lookout for that tiger, and sitting on the couch when you feel anxious, it just doesn't feel natural. Make a list of all these. I can promise you most of you that watch my channel have anxiety pretty rough, and I bet you could come up with like at least 15 to 20 of these behaviors and start marking them off the list. And each week have a goal where I'm going to stop these 3 things this week and just add on to it. I'm telling you, things will get better whenever you start doing that, because something magical happens whenever you're not having to go to these external pieces of reassurance, or you're not showing these behaviors. You have to actually start sitting with your anxiety and processing it and dealing with it, and facing it. So you're going to get better with your responses. Your subconscious is going to have to start relying on you versus that blood pressure machine or mom. It's going to rely on you. It's magical, right? People ask me, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Here's some things you can just stop doing. So write down all the behaviors, guys. I'm sorry, this light has been changing through this whole entire video. Make a list of these behaviors and start marking them off the list, right? Your anxiety habits, whatever you want to label it as, and start going through that. If you made it this far, go down below in the comment section, and I want you to put in all caps, I will stop these habits. I will stop these habits. If you want more help with your anxiety recovery process, check out my course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp. It's going to be down below in the description and in the first pinned comment. I'm going to put out a coupon code, Anxiety Recovery, that you can use at the checkout. It'll drop it 30%. We're getting close to the holidays. Everybody wants to save money. So if you haven't been able to get into the course and you've been really wanting to do it, but money's been a little bit tight, 30% should help you get in there, guys. I'm going to read you a review real quick. Check out Trey Jones' Anxiety Bootcamp class. I started it this week and I already am seeing a difference. Follow everything to a T and be diligent in making sure you're applying everything. I'm telling you, this has worked better than any medication or therapy I've been through. And for all the value you get in the class, you can't beat the price. So check that out, be a part of that. If you're interested in doing coaching calls with me, I do that. My email is down below for that. Reach out to me, request info. I'll send you the information and we will see if we are a good match. And also I've got a link for online therapy. My socials are down there. Please like this video if you got value. Subscribe if you are new. And if you have subscribed and you've been watching me, please turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I put these videos out. But I love you guys. And until next time, keep fighting.